Thank you, drama. What up, what up, what up? The homie Papa Keith. I'm here with Dr. Raymond Dunn and Dr. Marvin Dunn in the building.
All right.
Y'all brothers, huh?
Oh, yeah.
We're brothers and we're colored and I'm sorry. It's a TV show.
You want to talk about that for a minute?
That's what's up, man. So you're both historians, so to speak. And the podcast, what's the name of the podcast?
Podcast is Through Black Eyes Unfiltered.
All right, so we're going to get into this Three Black Guys Unfiltered.
Through Black Eyes Unfiltered.
Through Black Eyes Unfiltered.
Correct.
Y'all know Miami better than anybody right now, so we're going to get to that. Y'all log on right now to 1035thebeat.com for more information on Famous Friday as I kick off this interview. Coming up next, All That Moneybagg Yo and Megan Thee Stallion. All right, gentlemen, welcome to the show. How are you?
All right.
Good, thank you.
All right, thank you for taking the time. Listen, you know, Miami is a very intriguing place for everyone, you know? There's so much rich history in Miami that people just don't have enough information on, you know?
Right.
We get little tidbits here and there. We know that Dr. Martin Luther King wrote I Had a Dream here. We know that Muhammad Ali trained here, you know, for fights, and a lot of, you know, rich history here in Miami. As historians, what are some things that people will be surprised about that,
Papa
you know?
Keith, I wrote the book on Black Miami history.
That's what's up.
I've written that. It's the book that's used all over the county for Black history.
That is amazing.
So from the arrival of pirates in Miami in 1647 to the Miami Riot of 1980, I've covered that in my book. It's available. All the libraries have it. So the stories have been told. There are more stories to be told, but a lot of it is written down. It took me 10 years to do that book.
So what is your history kind of focus on? Because a lot of the history that we get, you know, I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, here in South Florida is drug related.
Sure. No, most,
You know what I'm saying?
no, Papa, most of my history focuses on black lynching, black violence in Florida.
Really?
So I've been to Rosewood, Ocoee, Jacksonville,
That was
Orlando,
an amazing movie.
Mims, all these places.
Rosewood?
Yeah.
Marvin owns
I
property.
own property in Rosewood.
in
I'm the only black
Rosewood.
person.
We have
Wow.
artifacts from his diggings.
I've been digging out there for 20 years.
Rosewood.
Wow.
It's like your house
That's what
burned
this
down.
is all about.
Yeah.
You know, to look at certain things that happen in Florida through black eyes.
Okay, so let's start somewhere. Let's start with Rosewood because I connected with that movie. It seemed like with Rosewood, it was a town where black people were, you know, flourishing.
Yes.
You know, things were doing well. You know, they had their own businesses. You know, we hear about Black Wall Street, you know, and stuff like that. And then something happened. You know what I mean? And based on, this is from my, you know, that's whatever happened, allowed it to be an excuse in order to strip those things from, you know.
No, not exactly.
Well, you tell me. This is what you here for, bro.
Exactly.
I'm coming with the false narrative. You're here to fix it. So what really happened?
That was a white woman who had a white boyfriend who worked in the railroad that ran through Rosewood going to the Gulf Coast. And when this woman's husband went to work, this man would come through on the railroad, get off, spend time with this man's wife, go on the train and leave. And one morning, after the husband went to work, the lover and this woman got into it, and he beat her up. And she had to have something to tell her husband to explain these scars. So she made up the story that a black man attacked her.
Wow.
And Sarah Carrier, a black woman, was her doing her laundry. She worked for this woman. And she saw the white man come and beat her. She heard the argument. So she went back to Rosewood and told the black people that this was coming, and the riot started from that. But it was that event with this white woman that really set off that riot.
So that was correct indeed from the movie, because the movie did depict that.
Correct.
You know?
I've been to Rosewood 18 times. I took the last living survivor of Rosewood to Rosewood twice. She was 96 years old.
Wow.
She walked me all through those woods to
Wow.
show me where everything was, the Baptist church, the Masonic Lodge, the school, all of those things.
So tell me, because it's so vast, your history and knowledge about Florida.
May I add one more thing about Rosewood before you leave there? Because a lot of people don't know that the state of Florida legislature passed a bill that if you can prove that you are a descendant from Rosewood, you can have your Florida tuition paid free at the end of the Florida State University.
Oh, wow.
You know, as a matter of fact, the state put aside $5 or $6 million for Rosewood descendants to go to colleges in Florida for free. Almost none of it has been used.
That money is still
It's
there.
still sitting there.
It's sitting there.
So we got to get the word out.
Well, the word is out. There's just not that many survivors in descendants around to collect the money.
Gotcha. What are some other stories that you can share about Florida?
Willie James Howard lynching.
Yeah.
What is
Willie
that?
James Howard, a 15-year-old boy, lynched in Florida for writing a love letter to a white girl.
Where was this?
Live Oak, Florida. This happened before Emmett Till. He was Florida's Emmett Till. He wrote this letter. Her daddy saw it. Got two men. Went to the boy's house. Took him out to the Swanee River. Tied him up, and put a gun to his head and told him jump, or take what's in this barrel. The boy's daddy was taken out there with him. His dad is standing there watching these people lynch his son. So the boy jumped into the river. He drowned, of course, and they took the daddy back and put him on his job for the rest of the day. That was Willie James Howard. We made a film about it.
Yeah.
Oh, but McDuffie.
That's right here in the heart of Miami.
How much time you got?
Very.
So he just mentioned, because we can't hear him on the mic. So he just mentioned Arthur McDuffie. Okay.
Arthur McDuffie was a young black man in his 30s, was a Marine Corps corporal, no police record. 1979, around Christmas time, 6 white Miami police officers, county police officers, beat him to death, handcuffed. And the officers who did this got off free.
So was there a motive? Is there a reason? What happened?
Yeah, there was a reason. He had them chasing him at 110 miles an hour up North Miami Avenue. And when they finally caught him, they beat him to death. Now, they probably would not have beaten him to death had he been Hispanic or white.
Right,
They killed him.
Wow.
And that caused the 1980
One of the interesting
riot.
things about the McDuffie case is how they got off. So, Marvin, tell them about Judge Ferguson's ruling after that.
Janet Reno, who was the state attorney at that time, made a big mistake with that case. Janet tried. She and I had a lot of trouble with this. And I stopped talking over this. She tried all 5 officers at the same time. And because she did that, they combined their peremptory challenges and eliminated the potential only 35 potential black jurors in the jury pool. They eliminated those black jurors, so it had to be an all-white jury. And Wilkie Ferguson.
Well, that was strategic.
Yeah, you can't do it anymore because a colleague of ours, Judge Wilkie Ferguson, wrote the opinion for the 3rd District Circuit Court that you cannot use any more of the peremptory challenge to remove jurors based on race. But that's why that riot happened. That was an all-white jury hearing this case.
This is a question I ask most activists and most people, why if we're, 2/5 of a person, we were considered at one point, right, as black people, why is so much resources and energy and emphasis used to keep us down if we're so-called nothing?
Well, see, there are a lot of people who just don't understand this whole 2/5 stuff. And Marvin, of course, is a historian. He can tell you with the incorporation of Miami would not have been incorporated had they not counted the black people, right, Marvin?
Well, the city would not have been incorporated had not the black men, who were the only ones women didn't vote then, but the black men had to come in and make enough people to qualify to become a city.
But they were not counted as a full person. They were counted as, what, 2/3?
No. When the city of Miami was founded, you had to have a minimum number of residents who were registered voters. That meant men. So black men could register to vote. They didn't vote because they were oppressed, but they could vote. So to get the city established in 1896, the railroad, Florida East Coast Railroad, ordered all their men to come down and stand and vote for the railroad. And of the 340 or so people who went, about 160 of them were black men. So the city could not have been founded had those men not been there. And then there were 2 names on the table to name the new city. One was Miami, not Miami, but when I was growing up, it was Miami, and the other was Flagler City.
Right.
And the Flagler folks wanted it to be Flagler City. The old timers, Julia Tuttle and all those folks, wanted it to be Miami. And the black men, and white folks split right down the middle, Miami or Flagler City. And because Flagler paid the black men less for working, they all voted for the name Miami.
So technically, black people named Miami.
Yeah, they sure did.
Exactly speaking.
Right. And their vote brought the county seat here, too. The county seat was in Lake Worth. And there were more black folks down here to help get the numbers necessary to move the county seat from Lake Worth to Miami. The black vote did that.
It is so interesting how Florida located its county seats and its capital. For example, take Tallahassee. How the heck did Tallahassee get to be the capital of Florida?
Oh, I know the answer to that.
Of course, because you got a port in Jacksonville and you got a port all the way over in Pensacola.
Right.
Tallahassee was in nothing place.
Yeah, it was in the middle of everything.
Yeah, but Tallahassee was middle ways through a port for transporting goods.
Yeah.
And then, well, so many stories about Tallahassee and Florida A&M and Florida State. So many stories.
So, with your podcast, is that what you do? You talk about different things that you've heard, experienced, learned about,
research, places we've been to. I've been to all the places in Florida that had a major lynching. I've been to those places. I have photographs, documentation, interviews, movies.
Why are you interested in the lynching? Has this something? What has really affected you on that level?
That's a good question, because the stories aren't told. People don't know that they lynched that boy in Live Oak. They don't know that.
But why do you feel it's so important to talk about it?
Because when I go to the graveyards where these people are buried, they speak to me.
Okay.
This boy speaks to me. Every time I leave that graveyard, he says, tell my story. People need to know what happened to me. Right. So there's a compulsion on my part to have these stories that are either whitewashed or not told at all made public.
Yeah, you feel an obligation to do so.
Right.
After they speak to you.
And from my part, I just feel that we need to have these black stories out there.
Yeah.
And now is the time to do it. Our young people are not getting these stories in the public school curriculum.
Right. There were lynchings in Miami people don't know about.
Exactly.
A lot of stories.
And so a podcast is an excellent way of getting it out there, because that's the medium that the young people will listen to today.
All right.
And
Well, that was a great idea. Is this gentleman,
Ray Jr.
I just put them in front of the microphone.
All right, so let's promote the podcast now on this live break here. No, keep it. Hey, it's Marty's the number one for hip hop, R&B, and the Breakfast Club. We are 103.5 The Beat. Papa Keith hanging out with you on this Friday, January 24th. Is it Aquarius season yet? It's my time? Okay, nice. Dr. Raymond Dunn is in the building. Dr. Marvin Dunn is here. They're historians. They know a lot about Miami. Dr. Marvin Dunn definitely knows about a lot of lynchings that happened here in South Florida. And I want you to talk about the young boy, because I know you said that was
Willie
before
James.
Emmett Till. Tell that story again, and let's talk about the podcast.
Well, Willie James Howard was a 15-year-old boy, lived in Live Oak, Florida. He was very smart, and he managed to get a job at the drugstore downtown delivering medicine. And there was a white girl who worked in there, and he fell in love with her and wrote her a letter that her father discovered. And the father took the letter with two white men, went to the boy's home around Christmas time, actually, took him to his father's place of work, got his father at gunpoint, and put the dad and the boy in the car, and they drove them out to the Swanee River. On the way out to the river, they tied Willie James's hands and his feet. When they got to the river with the father watching, Mr. Goff, the girl's daddy, put a pistol to Willie James's head and told him, jump or take what's in this barrel. And the boy jumped. He drowned. The black undertaker went out later that day and got his body. Willie James was murdered, kidnapped, murdered, and buried in 24 hours. No autopsy, no death certificate, nothing.
Not like if he never existed.
Exactly. And the men who did it got away with it.
So you talk about these stories, both of you on your podcast. When is that podcast? And people who are interested in the rich history of blacks in Florida, not just Miami, blacks in Florida.
Right, yes.
How can they connect with you?
They can connect through our podcast through blackeyes.unfiltered.com, or they can reach us
at TBE Unfiltered is our you can listen to
our
us on
social
that.
handle.
And then our website is
through
blackeyes.unfiltered.com.
All right. How
TBE.unfiltered.com.
How often do you do the podcast?
Once a week.
Once a week? All right, that's what's up.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel honored, to have this information, and I encourage people to get information.
Thank you.
Information is knowledge, and I was always one of those kids that will hang out with the grandparents and the older folks because I enjoy
Get the
listening to these stories. I
Yeah.
can listen to y'all and vibe with
Yeah.
y'all all day. So this is a great opportunity for people to take their time and listen to the rich history of Florida and some things that black people went through in Florida way back in the 1800s and stuff like that.
Even earlier. Earlier.
So thank you, gentlemen, very, very, very much for this opportunity, and definitely want people. What's the website again?
The website is throughblackeyesunfiltered.com. TBE.com.
Very good.
TBEunfiltered.com.
There you go.
TBEunfiltered.com.
They got it. So 135 to be Miami's new number one for hip hop, R&B, and the Breakfast Club. 5 o'clock rush hour mix. Bulletproof coming up next.